Amanda and Ashley were identical twin sisters who shared everything, looks, secrets, and eventually, each other's husbands. But what began as a dark fantasy spiraled into a chilling nightmare of deceit, pregnancy, and cold-blooded murder. When the lines between desire and betrayal blurred, their bond shattered, and 2 lives were lost. Amanda and Ashley Coleman had always been more than just twin sisters. They were mirror images in both appearance and behavior, sharing a bond that most people could never understand. From the moment they were born, they did everything side by side. They shared toys, secrets, clothes, and later, ambitions. They graduated from the same college, with identical degrees in psychology, and settled in the same quiet suburban neighborhood in Georgia. Their adult lives mirrored each other, so closely that even their marriages seemed like part of the plan. Amanda married Daniel Whitaker, a calm and meticulous architect known for his reserved nature and analytical mind. Daniel was someone who valued structure, routine, and a life free from chaos. He loved Amanda for her soft-spoken demeanor and organized lifestyle. Ashley, on the other hand, married Marcus Hale, a charming, ambitious real estate agent who thrived on attention, spontaneity, and adventure. He adored Ashley's energetic personality and bold confidence, finding her a perfect match for his fast-paced world. The 2 couples lived just 4 houses apart on the same tree-lined street. Their lives unfolded in tandem, double baby showers, shared vacations, even matching SUVs. To anyone looking in from the outside, they appeared flawless. Amanda and Ashley were the picture-perfect wives. Daniel and Marcus were successful, attractive husbands. The neighbors often commented on how rare it was to see 2 couples so in sync. They hosted backyard cookouts, spent holidays together, and were regulars at community events. Amanda and Ashley maintained their tradition of weekly coffee dates, where they would sit at the same corner booth of a quiet cafe and discuss everything: recipes, finances, gossip, and more importantly, their marriages. Beneath the surface of perfection, though, subtle cracks had begun to form. Amanda's marriage with Daniel had grown distant. He was constantly consumed by his work, often staying late at the office, bringing blueprints to the dinner table, or retreating into his study. Amanda felt invisible. She missed feeling desired, feeling heard. Ashley, on the other hand, was dealing with the opposite. Marcus was too involved, too intense. His need for control masked itself as care, but Ashley felt suffocated by the constant texts, the interrogations about her day, and his expectations that she prioritize him above everything else. During one of their late-night phone calls, a strange topic emerged. What if they swapped lives for a day? Not permanently, just for fun. It started off as a ridiculous idea, the kind of thing only twins would ever consider. But as the days went on, the thought kept returning. It didn't seem so outrageous when they considered how easy it would be. They knew each other's routines, mannerisms, wardrobes. Their husbands wouldn't notice, at least not immediately. Both women were curious, bored, and dangerously confident in their ability to pull it off. One Friday evening, the opportunity presented itself. Marcus had planned a weekend golfing trip with friends, and Daniel was set to attend a 2-day architectural conference. But last minute, the plans shifted. Marcus canceled his trip due to a sudden closing on a property, and Daniel's conference moved online. The switch could still happen, but now it would be under their own roofs. With a mix of excitement and anxiety, Amanda and Ashley agreed. They rehearsed their roles, memorized details, and agreed to stick to a strict timeline. Amanda arrived at Ashley's home early Saturday morning while Marcus was out running errands. She changed into Ashley's clothes, dabbed on her sister's perfume, and waited. When Marcus returned, he greeted her with a kiss. Amanda flinched, but he didn't notice. Across the street, Ashley had done the same. She tucked her hair the way Amanda did, put on Daniel's favorite sweater, and met him with a quiet smile when he walked into the kitchen. Daniel barely blinked. The switch had worked. That weekend blurred lines the sisters thought would always remain firm. Amanda found Marcus's energy thrilling, his compliments intoxicating. He made her feel seen, wanted. Ashley, in contrast, basked in Daniel's calm. He listened to her without interruption, made her tea without being asked. She felt peaceful in a way she hadn't in months. By Sunday night, they returned to their normal lives. No one suspected a thing. The thrill of getting away with it left them breathless, and though neither said it out loud, both knew this wouldn't be the last time. The fantasy had begun, and reality was no longer enough. What started as a harmless experiment would soon spiral into chaos neither sister could have imagined. The days following the switch were filled with an adrenaline rush neither Amanda nor Ashley could shake. What had begun as a playful dare had unlocked something dangerous. The excitement, the secrecy, the thrill of living as someone else. It was intoxicating. They returned to their routines, smiling politely at their husbands, pretending nothing had happened. Yet beneath the surface, their minds kept returning to that weekend. The conversations, the touches, the attention. They missed it, craved it. It wasn't just about escape anymore. It was about desire. The second switch happened less than 2 weeks later. This time, it wasn't planned with the same precision. Ashley called Amanda late on a Thursday night, her voice low and urgent. She was feeling overwhelmed again, frustrated by Marcus's demands. Amanda confessed she hadn't stopped thinking about him. There was no hesitation. The next morning, Amanda picked up Ashley's car keys, and they swapped roles under the excuse of a shopping trip. The deception had become easier. They no longer practiced their behaviors or stories. It felt natural now, like they were slipping into another version of themselves. Each encounter became more intimate. Amanda no longer felt guilty when Marcus kissed her. Ashley didn't flinch when Daniel brushed her arm. What should have been awkward was now something they anticipated with impatience. Amanda admired the way Marcus lit up when she entered the room, even though he thought she was Ashley. Ashley savored the way Daniel spoke softly to her, asked about her day, something Marcus rarely did anymore. The illusion grew stronger, and so did their emotional attachments to the wrong men. But what made it worse was how seamless it had all become. Neither husband suspected anything. Amanda and Ashley knew how to replicate each other down to the smallest gestures. They had grown up mimicking one another, finishing each other's sentences. Now, they were using those same skills to live each other's lives in the most intimate way. They were walking a fine line, one they couldn't step back from. Soon the weekends were no longer enough. They started orchestrating excuses midweek. Amanda claimed she had book club meetings or spa appointments. Ashley pretended she had volunteer work at the local shelter. Their real destinations, though, were each other's homes. They began sleeping in the wrong beds, cuddling the wrong husbands, whispering lies while maintaining a flawless front. The secrecy, the deception, it all fed the fantasy. They convinced themselves they had control. What they didn't realize was that their bond was changing too. They had once been each other's safe place, but now jealousy crept in. Amanda started to believe that Ashley was deliberately spending more time with Daniel. Ashley accused Amanda of developing real feelings for Marcus. The accusations were subtle, hidden behind smiles, but their relationship was shifting. Their twinship was no longer built on trust. It was being consumed by competition and silent rivalry. Then came the moment that changed everything. Amanda found herself nauseous one morning. She dismissed it as stress or fatigue, but it continued for days. Eventually, she bought a test. When the 2 lines appeared, her heart dropped. She was pregnant, and she had no idea who the father was. Panic set in. She kept it a secret from everyone, even Ashley at first. But secrets between twins never lasted long. Ashley noticed the changes in Amanda, her quiet mood, her refusal to drink wine at dinner, her hand resting on her stomach absent-mindedly. She confronted her, and Amanda broke down. The truth came out in a flood. Ashley was shocked, then went silent. A few days later, she took a test herself. Positive. Both sisters were pregnant, and neither could say with certainty who the father was. The lies they had so carefully built had led them to an irreversible outcome. Now, it wasn't just games and deception. There were children involved, bloodlines blurred beyond recognition. The guilt Amanda once felt had turned into dread. Ashley's confidence had melted into fear. The thought of their husbands finding out haunted them both. But even then, neither wanted to stop. They were too deep. The fantasy had taken over. Logic was no longer a part of their decisions. They kept switching roles, kept lying, kept pretending, even as their stomachs grew and their fears mounted. The question wasn't if they would get caught anymore. It was when, and how badly everything would fall apart when they did. Amanda sat in the nursery she had been decorating, staring at the half-painted wall with a roller brush dangling from her hand. Her mind was no longer able to focus on normal tasks. Every moment was consumed by one thought. What would happen if the truth came out? She was in her 2nd trimester, and her stomach had begun to show. Daniel was thrilled, doting on her in a way she hadn't experienced in years. But every tender gesture, every hopeful glance, made her feel more like a fraud. She couldn't say with certainty whether the baby she carried was his or Marcus's. The shame she tried to ignore was now inescapable. Across the street, Ashley was dealing with her own unraveling. She had never been maternal, but the pregnancy made her feel deeply protective and strangely territorial. Marcus was elated when she told him, bragging to co-workers, planning baby names. She played along, smiling and laughing, but inside, she was terrified. Her bond with Amanda had shifted from sacred to strained. Every time she looked at her sister now, she didn't see a mirror, she saw a threat. The tension between them grew with each passing week. Their daily chats turned cold. Their weekly meetups became shorter. Amanda noticed Ashley avoiding eye contact. Ashley sensed Amanda's guilt growing louder. Their connection, once built on love and understanding, was now held together by silence and secrets. Neither dared to suggest telling the truth. The idea lingered like a dark cloud they refused to acknowledge. Amanda, overwhelmed by anxiety, secretly ordered a paternity test kit online. She didn't tell Ashley. She waited for a chance to discreetly collect DNA from Daniel and Marcus, stray hairs from a shirt, a discarded coffee cup. But the closer she got to sending the samples, the more terrified she became. What if it wasn't Daniel's? What if the results blew everything apart? She hesitated, then finally burned the kit in a backyard fire pit one night while Daniel slept inside. Some truths, she decided, were better buried. Ashley had other concerns. She'd started noticing things, questions from Marcus about her changing routines, comments about how different she seemed lately. He had found an earring under their bed that didn't match anything she owned. One afternoon, he asked why she had called him by a name he didn't recognize. Amanda's name. She brushed it off, laughing nervously, but inside, her panic surged. The lies were catching up. That evening, Ashley called Amanda in tears. It was the first real conversation they'd had in weeks. They met in Amanda's backyard under the pretense of a walk, far from their husband's ears. Ashley confessed that Marcus was becoming suspicious. Amanda admitted that Daniel had noticed her emotional distance. They sat in the dark, unsure of what to say next. The damage had grown too large to ignore. Ashley, desperate and defensive, suggested they blame everything on confusion, stress from the pregnancies. She floated the idea of moving away together, raising the children jointly, leaving their husbands behind. Amanda stared at her, horrified. It was madness. But part of her understood the appeal. Starting fresh somewhere else would erase the fear of being exposed. Still, she shook her head. Running wouldn't change what they'd done. It would only delay the consequences. Days passed with no solution. The weight of the situation grew unbearable. Amanda tried focusing on baby shopping and prenatal appointments, but the smiles she wore were forced. She could feel her life slipping out of her control. The nursery remained unfinished. She no longer dreamed about her child's future, only about the storm looming ahead. Ashley, meanwhile, began to spiral. Her emotions were unpredictable, her patience thin. She accused Amanda of sabotaging her relationship with Marcus. She claimed Amanda had deliberately tried to get pregnant first, to control the narrative. Amanda snapped, telling Ashley she had always been reckless, always driven by impulse. The argument ended in silence, the kind that doesn't fade with time. The sisters were no longer allies. They were co-conspirators turned competitors, each fearing the other more than anyone else. Their shared fantasy had become a prison, and now, the lives they once thought were perfect were unraveling faster than they could contain. The due dates crept closer, but instead of joy, only dread filled the air. Secrets don't stay buried forever, and the truth, once revealed, would destroy everything. The day started like any other, but Amanda woke with a weight in her chest that refused to ease. She moved through her morning routine mechanically, brushing her hair, sipping tea, folding laundry. Each moment felt heavier than the last. Her body ached under the strain of pregnancy, but the real burden was psychological. She couldn't ignore the tightening walls around her life. The lies were closing in, and she felt trapped inside a story that had gone far beyond her control. Across the street, Ashley stood at her window, watching Amanda's house. Her thoughts were a tangled mess of panic, paranoia, and resentment. She hadn't slept the night before. Marcus had been distant lately, quieter than usual. He had been checking her phone, asking subtle questions about her schedule, and had even started talking to Amanda more, saying he was worried about her health. Ashley suspected he was beginning to piece things together, and she feared what he might uncover. The thought of Marcus discovering the truth terrified her, but what terrified her more was the idea of Amanda coming clean first. A week earlier, Amanda had hinted at telling Daniel everything. Ashley had begged her to stay quiet, insisting it would destroy all four of them. But Amanda had grown tired of the guilt, tired of carrying the weight alone. Ashley knew she had to act. She needed control, and control meant silencing Amanda before she made a decision that couldn't be undone. That afternoon, Ashley showed up unannounced at Amanda's house. The tension between them was immediate. Amanda didn't want to let her in, but did so anyway. They sat in the living room, surrounded by baby clothes and unopened gifts. Ashley's words were clipped and cold. She asked if Amanda was planning to confess. Amanda didn't answer right away, but her silence said enough. That was the turning point, the moment the fantasy turned fatal. Ashley left in a fury. Her heart pounded as she walked home, her thoughts spiraling. She saw Amanda as the weak link, the one who would unravel everything. In Ashley's mind, the only way to keep things from falling apart was to eliminate the threat. By evening, she had made a decision, one that would shock even her. 2 nights later, Amanda received a text from Daniel asking her to meet him at a nearby park. It was odd, but not suspicious. Amanda, exhausted from the day, stepped out while Ashley stayed behind to help with nursery arrangements. That was the plan, or so Amanda thought. But Daniel never sent the text. Ashley had taken his phone earlier that day and crafted the message herself. She needed Amanda out of the house, vulnerable and alone. While Amanda waited on a park bench, confused and checking her phone, Ashley broke into her house using the spare key Amanda had once given her. Ashley moved quickly. She climbed the stairs to the master bedroom and emptied Amanda's prenatal vitamins into the toilet. She replaced them with lookalikes, over-the-counter supplements that wouldn't harm her, but would leave Amanda feeling off, unwell, disoriented. It was the first step in making her sister look unstable. She knew it wouldn't take much more to push Daniel's doubts into suspicion. But things didn't go as planned. While Ashley was upstairs, Marcus arrived unexpectedly. He had come to drop off a gift for Amanda, something for the baby. He noticed the door slightly ajar and walked in, calling her name. Ashley froze. She came downstairs slowly, trying to explain, but Marcus was already on edge. He had suspected something was off for weeks. Seeing Ashley in Amanda's house, alone and uninvited, confirmed it. He began asking questions. Ashley panicked. She tried to lie, but her stories no longer made sense. Marcus grew angry, pressing her for the truth. The confrontation escalated. Ashley snapped. In a blur of rage and fear, she grabbed a heavy ceramic lamp from the end table and struck him. He fell instantly. Blood pooled across Amanda's beige carpet. Ashley stood over his body, trembling. Her thoughts raced. There was no time to think, no room for regret. She dragged his body into the garage, wrapped it in an old tarp, and left through the back door just minutes before Amanda returned. Amanda walked into her home feeling uneasy, her instincts humming with dread. Nothing looked out of place, but something felt wrong. She stepped into the living room and noticed the missing lamp. Her stomach turned. The next morning, Daniel was found dead in his car, slumped behind the wheel in a remote parking lot. The autopsy would later reveal a lethal dose of sleeping pills. His death was ruled a suicide. But Amanda knew better. And when Marcus never came home, she began to put the pieces together. Something had gone terribly, irreversibly wrong. The sisters had crossed a line, and now 2 men were dead. What had started as a secret fantasy had spiraled into tragedy, and there was no way to go back. Amanda stared at the framed photo of Daniel on the kitchen counter, her hands trembling as she tried to make sense of the world around her. Just days ago, he had kissed her goodnight and whispered about baby names. Now he was gone, the victim of what authorities claimed was a suicide. But Amanda couldn't believe it. He had been many things, distant, methodical, emotionally reserved, but never unstable. The explanation didn't add up. Something inside her told her the truth was far more sinister. Marcus, too, had vanished without a trace. At first, people assumed he had fled town. There were rumors. He was overwhelmed, had a secret life, had debts. But Amanda knew better. He wouldn't have left Ashley pregnant. He wouldn't have walked away from the child he was so excited to raise. Deep in her gut, Amanda felt something terrible had happened. And the more she replayed the past weeks, the more she realized how far Ashley had spiraled. Ashley, meanwhile, was unrecognizable. Grief clung to her like a second skin, but Amanda began to see through it. There was something performative in Ashley's sadness, something rehearsed. She cried when neighbors were around, sobbed during police interviews, but when alone with Amanda, her expressions hardened. Her eyes were no longer warm or familiar. There was a new coldness in her voice, a stillness in her body that Amanda had never seen before. It unsettled her. A week after Daniel's funeral, Amanda confronted her. It was late evening, and Ashley had come over with a casserole and a weak smile. Amanda didn't pretend. She closed the door behind her, locked it, and demanded to know what happened. Ashley laughed at first, accusing Amanda of paranoia. But as Amanda pressed harder, her voice rising with each word, Ashley's calm began to crack. Amanda mentioned the vitamin bottles, the missing lamp, the text that Daniel never sent. She brought up the scratches on Ashley's hands the night Marcus went missing, the strange scent of bleach in her garage. And then she said it. "I know you killed them." Ashley didn't deny it right away. Instead, she sat down slowly, placing the casserole on the table. Her silence was confirmation. Then, she spoke in a voice that chilled Amanda to her bones. Ashley said she had done what needed to be done. That Amanda was weak, a liability. That she wasn't going to let everything fall apart because Amanda couldn't to keep the fantasy alive. Ashley insisted that they had started this together, but only she had the strength to finish it. Amanda backed away, grabbing her phone. Ashley lunged, knocking it from her hands. The struggle was short, but violent. Amanda managed to break free, running to the bedroom and locking the door behind her. She dialed 911, her voice shaking as she told the dispatcher that her sister had killed her husband, and possibly her own. When police arrived, Ashley was gone. The front door hung open, swinging in the wind. A citywide search began the next morning. Her face was plastered on news stations, her story retold in horrified whispers. The media dubbed her the twin widow. Amanda, now visibly pregnant and emotionally shattered, was placed under police protection. But Ashley didn't stay hidden for long. 4 days later, her body was discovered in a wooded area outside the city. She had taken her own life with a bottle of pills and a handwritten note that contained only 5 words. "We were always the same." The community reeled. The once admired sisters, who had shared everything from cribs to husbands, had descended into a nightmare no one could have predicted. 2 dead men, 2 unborn children, and a legacy of betrayal and tragedy. Amanda gave birth months later to a healthy baby boy. The paternity test remained unopened. She decided she didn't need to know. What mattered now was survival, healing from the wreckage, learning to be a mother, and distancing herself from the story that had consumed her life. She sold her home and moved to another state, changing her name, vowing to shield her child from the truth. But the past had a way of creeping back. Some nights, she'd wake from dreams of Ashley's voice, whispering across the room, Some wounds don't heal. Some stories never end. And in the quiet, Amanda lived with the burden of knowing that love, when twisted into obsession, could destroy everything in its path, even the bond between sisters.